So I was just asking, has anyone worked in a 4-day week? Has anyone explored this before at all? Okay, so it looks like, hi Jason. Hi.
Yes, but only from the perspective of working and getting paid for 4 days.
Yes, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, this is what we're going so we're going to be talking about working 4 days, getting paid for 5. So yeah, and I see a not yet in the chat. So okay, I will just give it a couple more minutes to give people a chance. But I'm Anna from Forward Carers. I've got my colleague Georgina here who'll give you a wave as well. And we're here because we're passionate about this subject. We're not here. Sometimes we do Zoom calls because it's part of our work, our KPIs, our objectives. This is all about sharing something that we've found transformative actually as individuals and as an organisation. And we've given ourselves a little bit of extra work to come and share our experiences in the hope that it might inspire other people to investigate the same. Paul and Naya from the social enterprise, Mark, is this anything that's ever Paul, I can see the first bit, social enterprise. Is it the social enterprise, Mark? Are you from the organisation?
Yes, that's correct, I am.
Yes, okay. So I'm expecting you'll be feeding back to team members afterwards, be interested in any outcomes that come from this.
Well, I'm just to let you know, I'm kind of representing my daughter.
Yes.
So I've come with onto the link just to kind of hear what's been said, so that she's an accounts and receipts assistant for a legal company, very well-known legal company, and she's dropped her full-time role for part-time reluctantly, so she's not being paid, so that she could fit in her own personal dreams and aspirations. So we were talking about it this morning, about, you know what, it would have been nice to have been paid full time without you having to have dropped 3 days. So I thought, oh, I'm sure there was something going on today. And I thought, oh, that was kind of quite good. So I booked it in Eventbrite, and I thought, oh, that would be good. And she could perhaps share that with her management. So I thought, oh, that would be good, because it's a legal company, very well known, and I'm sure they could do with something like that being kind of put out there. So maybe she can spearhead that. So that's why I'm here.
Really fantastic to hear. Thanks, Sylvia, for sharing. Yeah, we'd love to spread the word and get people interested in the conversation. And it's it can take time for these conversations to trickle through. And how I've presented things today, and I will make a start in just a second, is to think about it from the business perspective as well as the individual's perspective, because whether we're organisations like myself and Georgina from Forward Carers, who are a not-for-profit, who are here to sort of deliver good to our local communities, or whether we're corporates, we all have targets and aspirations, if not shareholders and board members that hold the organisation to account. So it does have to work for everybody, and that's really what we're going to focus on. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to move into sort of presentation mode. I've only got a few slides, but I thought it'd be a helpful way of just holding this together. So I'll share my screen and we'll get started. 2 ticks. Can everyone see the slides okay? Brilliant. Okay, so just a reminder then, so you've got myself and Georgina here from Forward Carers. So the purpose of today, it's really a passion project for the two of us and for other staff members at the organisation as well. We want to talk to you about how moving to a 4-day week, something we call a smart working week, I'll come on to that later, and how it's really improved our organisational productivity. And no big surprises, sent staff wellbeing through the roof as well. So I wanted this to be short and sharp and really quite practical as well. So I've kind of just focused it on, what is the 4-day week? Why would any business, why would they put themselves out there to pay staff for more days than they work? And why did we as an organisation do it? Take you through the process of how we went about it. I'm going to share some impact measures that helped us decide to make this, take this from a pilot, 6-month pilot, which we ran, to actually a permanent shift. I'll cover briefly some of our learnings and some of our top tips, and then I'll invite Georgina to talk about the experience as an individual staff member. So rather than from an organisational perspective, what she's gained from it as an individual and as a team member. I'm really happy to take questions as we go along. I might not see you, so feel free to unmute or pop them in the chat. If they're in the chat, I'll probably come to them at the end. So just a very quick one. So I'm from an organisation called Forward Carers. Georgina and I are. We're a not-for-profit social enterprise, and we're all about supporting unpaid carers. So people who provide care and support for a friend or family member who relies on them. And as I said, as a not-for-profit, we don't have shareholders, but we do have ambitions and aims and goals and objectives that we need to meet. So we certainly didn't take this decision lightly, but it is part of our ethos as a social enterprise to try all new things, to challenge ourselves to be kind of the best version of ourselves, really organisationally and individually. So the 4-day week, I wanted to define that here and now. So what I'm talking about when we talk about a 4-day week is 100% of pay, so retaining our earnings for 80% of our hours, so working and getting paid for 5 days, working for 4 days, on the proviso, and this is the key bit, this is the key bit for businesses, on the proviso that we make 100% achievement. So we have organisational KPIs and targets like any other organisation. Ours are all about achieving our mission for unpaid carers across the community. But that's fundamental. So 100, 80, 100 is how we refer to that. We've taken the decision that everybody in the organisation has this 5th day off, for us a Friday. That's the way that we've approached it. There are lots of different ways that people have gone about it. And there's lots of different places you can find out more, because this is sort of a whistle-stop tour. So the question is why would any employer undertake this? I think we know why staff members might be tempted to. We worked with an organisation called 4-Day Week Global in 2021 and 2022. I kept hearing it on the radio, speakers and reports and sort of press releases from this organisation called 4-Day Week Global, who were then in their, I think it was their 2nd or 3rd pilot phase, where they're working with organisations internationally, but large numbers of them were in Ireland and the US. And they were releasing their findings from their global pilots. So the one that I looked at in 2022 had about 33 businesses participating, nearly 1,000 staff members, wide range of sectors, but the largest group of pilot participants were administrative, IT, and sort of from the telecom sector. But also, so that was the first lot, professional services and not-for-profits were also really highly represented. And half of those organisations had 10 or fewer employees. At the time, I think we had about 12 members of staff. So, this was speaking to us. Is this something that people were looking into? And we wanted to be part of this conversation. We wanted to be spearheading this. I'll tell you why we wanted to do that in a second. But this little table that I've put together here comes from one of their research reports. This is what we went through as a senior team member, and then latterly with our board and our team members, where we found that the findings, we found them really hard to argue with. So the staff feedback won't surprise you. Working fewer days is really good for your mental health and your physical health, your well-being, your work-life balance. But the real turning point for us was to see the organisation's feedback. So I think none of the participants were planning to end the trial. They were all either extending it, mostly extending it, maybe a couple going permanent. And the reasons they were doing that was because of the massive positive increases they were finding in revenue, their recruitment, ability to recruit at a time when there was a real sort of downturn in recruitment. I think it was called like the Great Resignation. They had increased their workforce size over the period of the pilot, which in most cases was 6 months, and they'd seen productivity and performance gains. At the same time, they'd had a reduction in absenteeism, so a reduction in staff sickness. And these figures really spoke to us. The reason they spoke to us is because we'd been on a bit of a journey in the probably 12 months before that, where we had been looking into how can we as an organisation support our staff members, our our employees to manage and improve their well-being, because we're a not-for-profit, we're a nice organisation and we care about our teams, but also because we know that sort of healthy, happy staff are more productive, they remain longer, they're less likely to go off on sick leave. So we'd been on a journey, we trialled a few things. One of the things that we trialled in the months running up to this 4-day week pilot was what we called a wellbeing workout, and it was gifting every staff member an hour a week at a time of their choosing, put themselves in their diary themselves to do something that was good for their well-being. And that we had examples of people going for a run, meeting a friend for a coffee, leaving work an hour early and going to get their hair done, nails at lunchtime, going on a meditation session over lunch, all sorts of extended lunch, all sorts of positive things. And we'd had some really good feedback as the result of that. So we're kind of moving in this direction already. Like everybody else, recruitment could be a challenge. We're a not-for-profit in the health and social care sector. So you'll be aware that there could be some real challenges in the sector. And we really wanted to recognise and reward our team, who are so passionate and so efficient and so hardworking. We wanted to gift them something that would allow them to still do their job, to avoid burnout, particularly in the not-for-profit sector. You can get high levels of burnout because people are driven by passion for what they do. And actually, at the same time, we had some real ambitions to grow our organisation, to start taking our mission further afield, further outside of sort of the West Midlands, and start supporting carers, across the nation. So we knew that we were going to have a sort of a period of kind of real hard work and growth. And to be honest, we see ourselves as a bit of a change maker, and we hope to be a leader, and we wanted to trial something in a way that would be kind of quite rigorous and have some kind of real research elements that, were we successful, we could offer up to other people in the sector, in the workplace generally. And this is really what we're doing today. We're sharing our learnings. So I want to talk to you about sort of some practicalities, like, well, how did we go about it? And I'm going to be honest, it helps that we've got a CEO that is really forward looking. It helps that we've got somebody who cares passionately about staff well-being alongside our organisational goals and ambitions, our mission as well. But it wasn't an easy sell. We still had to look at the research. We still had a real job of work to understand how could we make this, give ourselves the best chance to be successful in this. We have a board of directors. So we had to present the research figures, those ones that I very briefly summarised to you a moment ago. We summarised those to the board, and we had to talk them through how exactly we would be accounting for whether or not the pilot would be a success. So we had to talk to them about the ways that we would measure it and what we would do if things didn't work out, for example. We talked to the team, and I, possibly naively, expected that everybody would immediately think, fantastic, can't wait, let's do it. But because we are a team that really cares about what we do, actually a few team members felt concerned about the impact on work and about the impacts on their ability to manage their workload and get everything done within the hours without letting down sort of the organisation or the carers that we're here for. So we had a few conversations and consultations. And we set a timeline of 6 months, and we said from the start, we will keep learning and adapting, and we will change things if we need to, whether that's to withdraw or to trial new things, to keep revising it. And we got together a group of, because we're quite a small team, as a group mainly, to look at, okay, how could we do this efficiently? And this is where we started to really focus on the smart working week, and that's what we call it internally. We very much have moved away from describing this as a 4-day week. Ultimately, that's what we get, that's the benefit, but we achieve that through working smart. I'll talk about some of what that looks like in a minute, but how could we make positive changes in the workplace that would allow us to achieve all of our work without stressing staff members, without having to work really long days afterwards. So we got together as a group and we worked out what we wanted to measure, and we revisited that regularly. And we did, and I'll come on to this, we did weekly reviews from a staff experience perspective and a business perspective. And we did adapt as we went along, and there were a few changes along the way that I'll cover. So I think the big question for people is, how can you get your work done? How can you get 5 days work done in 4? And actually, I'd argue that I think a lot of organisations have got a lot of scope to improve their processes, and we found lots of ways that we could adapt without major changes to improve our work efficiency and our productivity. I've put the key ones on here. So that working group that I just mentioned, that group, the staff members, when we came together, how can we improve our email communication? And really it became evident when we were doing this, this is an activity, this is an exercise we could have done at any time. The 4-day week sort of drove us to actually making these changes, but the reflection was, wow, these are things that we could have improved, that were waiting to be improved, and it's been a real gift to the team to have worked on these. We put together a guide, sort of a golden rules, golden guide on how we wanted to operate within these kind of headings. So we were really clear on how we use email within the organisation, how we make sure that when we do email people, it's to a purpose, it's the right people, and it's got a clear call to action. We went through all of our meetings that we have, and we kind of really challenged on ourselves on how necessary they were, and were they the right length of time, were they the right people, was the information being shared efficiently afterwards. Tech. We looked at AI, we looked at things like plugins for helping us improve and speed up kind of writing and grammar, for example. We've got ourselves these things called rocket books. I'm at home today, so I don't have it to show you, which would have been nice, but it's a book that's special material book that you can take a photograph and scan and upload your notes directly into files. We use a OneDrive system, so you can keep them there, and then you just sort of clean the pages every day or every week. So it's good for the environment too, which is another thing that's important to us. And then we talked about how we can efficiently work in the workplace or from home to, as individuals, really harness our best potential. So getting better at avoiding distractions, putting phones away, making it clear to people when we were and we weren't available to join conversations. And we had all this documented in a guide. And initially, our scheduling, we allowed people to, team members, to choose the day that they had off. And actually, we realised after a few months that was really challenging, because it meant that there was at least a day every week where at least one person wasn't in. It made it difficult to manage meetings, for example. That was actually holding us back. So we adapted. We moved to a single day, which is a Friday, which we identified has the fewest emails and meetings coming in. And then we measured, like I said, we had a weekly email survey going out to staff. These are some of the things we measured. How are you feeling about it? Would you recommend the trial? How many hours are you actually working? I wanted to see if it was really people really were taking their time off. And what are some of the fabulous things that you're doing on your day off? And alongside that, we had like a baseline, a midpoint, and an end of pilot survey that then generated a lot more detail that I'll share with you in a second. And we also measured our internal targets. These are just some made up figures, but it gives you an indication. We used to monitor our business output monthly. We moved to weekly, and that's a massive transformation for us. It was really effective, completely outside of the Smart Working Week pilot anyway. It gave us information that we needed to put into practice adaptations as we needed to. And we did this is a dashboard on our CRM, our database, and we had this for all of our major project areas. So we're measuring, we're making adaptations, we're bringing staff with us. So we get to the end of the trial, 6 months of pilot, and we had that end of pilot review, and these were our findings. So this is all on the left-hand side, staff improvements was a detailed survey that went out to all the staff. This was the number of staff that recorded a positive or an improvement in these areas. So really just resounding. you know, perhaps not surprising that work-life balance, 100% of people have said it's improved. Perhaps mental well-being, not a surprise, but we had an improvement for most people in their physical well-being, suggesting that people were using their day off to do activities, fitness, for example. And really nice that relationships, which we qualified as important friends or family relationships, had seen a positive improvement too. And of course, the one that we led on with the board, quite rightly, was our corporate impact. So we did maintain and in many cases exceed all our KPIs throughout. Over the period of the pilot, we won new contracts and new funding. We recognised through speaking to line managers in the team and the output that productivity had gone up, while staff sickness, which was never high anyway, had gone down, and staff fed back that their skill set had grown, their ability to plan, organise and manage their time had improved. So we I'm going to move on to slide. So we were able to get sign-off from, I'm sorry, I've got two slides. I've mixed up a slide, ignore the bit on the right-hand side, but we were able to go to the board and get sign-off. They were happy that we had successfully demonstrated a really positive corporate impact alongside staff well-being. No staff either, for example, had chosen to take another job, for example, or do something on their day off which had any impact. We hadn't put any restrictions on how that day had been used, but it was all positive. So we took the sign off from the board. We consulted as a team. You won't be surprised to hear there weren't too many people who were against this idea. We really had learned and grown as a team about how to work efficiently. And we actually just sent out amendment contract letters. And I just wanted to mention that because you might be thinking, gosh, is this a total HR nightmare? Like, what do we have to go through? So most of our T's and C's stayed the same. There was a slight change to our annual leave, but other than that, it was an individual letter for team members outlining this change. It does, although we've come out of the pilot and we are now a 4-day week employer, we do retain the ability to review this practice annually should we need to make any changes. We've got an ongoing working group because we're all human and sometimes good practice slides. So we're keeping each other in check, making sure that they're not sliding and looking at ways we can continue to improve. And we've continued to do our weekly KPI reviews for the business as well. And we learned a lot. We learned that we can achieve even more than we thought we could. We had a challenge partway through of how to manage bank holidays and the 4-day week. So, for example, initially on the bank holiday week, we had the bank holiday day off and our staff day off. Staff came to us and said, we can't get our work done. It's feeling stressful and we're dedicated. We want to achieve our work. We would rather work the 4 days on a bank holiday week as per everyone else. So that's what we did. And that works really well for us. We put a little message on our email signature and we put out of offices on to show that we're not there. As senior team members, we do have our phones on, but we would do it the evenings and weekends anyway in the event of a significant kind of emergency coming up. Another challenge was for the team to learn to relax on their day off, actually. So that was a big challenge that we've kind of overcome really now. I think we've kind of normalised it. And I've got some top tips on the screen then this is going to be sent out to everybody, that in the event that you or if you are senior management or if you are the decision makers or those that are, these are some things to consider. I'm not going to go through them now because I want to give Georgina an opportunity to talk about the perspective from a staff experiential perspective. So I'm going to hand over to Georgina now. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Hi, everyone. I've got some notes here because I want to make sure that I cover, and I haven't got much time, but I cover the things that were quite important to me. So as Anna mentioned at the start of finding out about this 4-day working week, it was like a bit quiet when it was mentioned to the team, and we were all sort of reflecting because, you know, unless you work part-time, most of our lives we've worked 5 days. So it was like, well, what's that going to look like? How will it impact us? We had so many questions. One of the reasons I feel like this has been so successful is because we had a lot of support around it. So as Anna mentioned, we had consultations, we had time set aside for question and answers that we might have. Frequently asked questions were created. We share with each other ways that support us to work smarter. So all those things really, really helped us. Another thing, to me, every Thursday evening, it's just a constant reminder that my workplace really cares about my well-being and the rest of our team. Yeah, it's like Thursday evening comes and it's just a treat. It feels almost wrong. It's that good. So that's really nice, and it's more than just the fact that we only work 4 days. It's the message that the organisation's giving to us all, and the message we're putting out there to our partners and other people that we work with. It really shows the thought that goes into caring about all of our well-being. Work can be really busy, and I don't think that really changes. We're always busy, and it can always, if we work an extra day, it doesn't really, we're just always busy. So it's really given us time to unwind on having that extra day. I felt like just having 2 days on a weekend, I never truly, by the time you're doing life admin, and I like to spend Saturdays with my mum, for example, because otherwise in the week we're like passing ships. So once I've spent time with her, I have a Sunday, and then you're preparing for going back to work again on a Monday. So it never really gave me that chance to really unwind with being so busy in the week. So I definitely feel that I go back to work and feel a lot more refreshed. I feel happier in and out of work in myself. I don't feel in my mind so erratic and busy all the time. I feel like I've really relaxed and I've took time out for myself. On the Friday, I joined a gym when I found out about the 4-day week. I joined a gym. I've been to yoga and Pilates classes, which I've never done before. So I gave myself time really to take care of myself. I can give an example. Last Thursday, so my nan had an operation, and she lives in London. So on Thursday night, I was able to drive to London with my family, spend Friday with my nan, and not have to take annual leave or, take any leave for that, and just spend quality time with her. And then I came back and I still had my weekend. So
Georgina, that's really, really
yeah.
lovely. I wish I'd left you some more time, because I'm sure
Okay,
what
we've
people
got
are getting from this are for a lot more, because it's the passion, and I think it's really clear to everyone here
Yeah.
how much it's meant to you. And I really loved what you said about how it feels that as an organisation that you feel cared for and supported. I only stopped you now, Georgina, in case anyone has to leave, and I appreciate that they might do so. We'll send this. I don't know, Georgina, if you have a couple more minutes, if people want to stay and ask questions. Would you be happy to answer if you've got a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I'm more than happy. I think one more thing that I will add, because I think it's really important, is we've learned a lot about ourselves and how we work, as well as how our colleagues work, because we all work really differently. And we've had to learn to respect that a lot more. And again, find ways that suit us in working smarter to make sure everything's done. But as Anna said, I could talk about this forever. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Jason, yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any at all.
That's awesome. Thank you, Georgina. That's so. I think you're right. That learning, we teach each other. we find something that works well, we share that as good practice, and I think we're constantly learning as a team. Paul, you put some questions in the chat, and they're things that I'd meant to address when I introduced Forward Carers, and I forgot. So thank you for the prompt. So we are an organisation. Well, I think when we started the pilot, we were 12. We're now 17. So things are going in a good direction, as I said. We're a hybrid. We're hybrid workers, but we have one principal office, which is a head office in Birmingham. We do have another staff member out in Dorset, and we're growing outwardly as well. Roles are office based. And we have continued to do hybrid working, and what we have looked at is extra flexibility from staff perspective, that if they are asked to come in on a day or a normal working from home day or hybrid day, and we have that give and take more than anywhere I've ever worked, because I think there's an understanding there from the team that we're all working together towards this. I think it's important to say that the 4-day week global, who's the organisation that provided the research that I gave at the start, they've worked with a massive range of organisations. They've worked with sectors that would say, and that do say, we couldn't do this. That's the healthcare sector. They've worked with kind of retail and leisure sector, hospitality. So we had an easier option because we're office based and we have everything lined up. There are examples of other organisations out there who have successfully done this. Oh, thanks, Georgina, for popping your details in the chat. Any other questions, or should we draw it to a close?
Yeah, I just have a question regarding the stats. I'm curious as to, you mentioned some of the percentages, and I wondered what the initial questioning was around that, because I just see the 100%, the 80%, write it down somewhere. Mental health 100%, 80% physical well-being, and so on and so on. So what was the original figures in order to see that, because that could look as though I don't know what that beginning point was.
Understood. Yeah, do you know, I didn't go back, and we're talking about sort of 10 months ago, so I can dig them out.
Okay,
but
that's fine. I can get that.
The stats I gave you, Sylvia, and you're absolutely, there's a really important way to look at it, and that will be the sorts of questions that you or your daughter would want to be able to answer. The way we framed those questions were what was about an increase. So it's that 100%, 80%, that was staff that had said, I have seen an increase in my positive increase in my mental health as a result of the pilot. So it was very much, even if you were at a good baseline already, this is about people increasing across all of those measures. So yeah, we were delighted to see it, but thank you.
Okay, I won't say any more because obviously I can catch up another time.
You can anytime, but it's really lovely to have you here, and we'll be happy to talk to your daughter as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Take care.
If anyone else has anything, so yeah, I'll shut up.
No, I think we'll probably, you're welcome to ask away, Sylvia, but it's really nice, as I said, to have you here. We'll probably draw it to a close because I think we're down to representatives from the social enterprise, Mark, now. So I don't know if you want to stop filming and draw things to a close.
That's fine.
And Sylvia, perhaps we'll catch up separately on all things Forward Carers and ambassadors
on Thursday.
Looking forward to it.
You
Take
too,
care.
Anna.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.